We're dealing with Caitlyn Clark in the WNBA, really more so Caitlyn Clark, okay? So as I said, we've had a lot of new subscribers, especially to YouTube in particular, to come on and join after a session I did called Roaches in the WNBA. Now, let me be clear, I'm not calling anyone a roach. What I am saying is that the problems in the WNBA, they appear like roaches for the simple fact that a light is being shined or has been shined on the league this season. And there were a lot of negative things going on, and I pointed those out in that session. And so I'm addressing this because I have been watching. You know, here with UNA, we don't tend to go into those type of secular topics. We stick to law, and we stick to universal law as well as the legal side of things. And I did take that time to point out some things that are going on in the WNBA from a legal side as well. And tonight we're going to deal with that again on the spiritual side, as well as some legalities that I see going on in the league. All right, so the COO has taken another position doing something different. And I talked about how there's a change coming. Now, I want to talk about the COO, Allison Barber. And I had some video queued up here to play her soundbite, and we're going to do that, you know, in the clips. But I do want to say this. She was so likable. As I watched her session and she was going through talking about Caitlyn Clark and her time and her history and background of where she came from and her work history, she was so incredibly likable. I wished that she had been the one who we had been listening to and hearing.
Our start to our season was tough. I got emails all the time from people. You should fire your coach. You should fire your GM. You should, because we were on the road playing the best teams. It was really hard. And then one day I got an email from a fan that said, "You should be fired."
Who's going to do that?
No, I printed it. I'm like, oh my God, they think I'm relevant. Like, this is awesome.
And so as she parts, I hope that the person who's coming in now is going to bring in a different energy to at least the Fever team, whereby it's more professionally run as the new COO. And I don't want to mess up her name, but first name start with a K, last name start with a K. And we want to say we're welcoming her. We hope she comes in with a business mind, and really takes care of business and makes sure that this Caitlyn Clark product, who has been making so much money for the league, is respected. All right, that's what we want to see as she comes in. Now, I want to get back on Allison Barber, because she talked about how she had gotten some hate. And it was funny because we didn't know her name. We knew Lynn Dunn and we knew Christy Sides, but we had not heard Allison Barber, who was the COO. And so it was interesting to hear her speak. And again, for me, and those of us who really go by spirit, and you can feel and sense someone's genuineness, she just seemed like a genuine, kind-hearted person, but she also seemed like someone who didn't know anything about basketball, and she stated as such. She said, "I'm really not a basketball person. I didn't really know a whole lot about basketball," but she knew about energies. Now, when she came in, she talked about how she had put all of these sayings and these words on the walls about, you know, uplifting your energy and keeping your energy right. And then she says Lynn Dunn came in and just painted over all that. Like, oh no, we're gonna put some pictures up on here. Now, one of the things she did, and I just want to talk about her briefly, and then I'm going to get into some other things. One of the things she did say is that she championed Christy Sides, but it was clear that her relationship with Dunn, it was a stress to her. That was clear. And so I'm interested in seeing how once again, this other woman who's coming in, how she comes in and really conducts business with the Fever. So to Allison Barber, like I said, I just wanted to state how likable she was, and at the same time, how little she knew about basketball. And hopefully now that we're getting someone in who really does have an understanding about what needs to happen, I hope she comes in and takes care of business. Now, I do want to also say this about Allison Barber. She talked about Caitlyn Clark, and this is now we're ready to get into Caitlyn Clark and a little bit about what's going on with her. She talked about Caitlyn Clark, and she says that Caitlyn Clark, when they had away game rather, she went to the WNBA Players League for the WNBA, and she says, can we get some extra money paid to the women of these away teams for the games, because we're selling out, is what she said. We've sold out of this because of me. I get it, but I want to know, can we make sure that they get some extra money or percentage of it? And of course they told her no, because of the collective bargaining agreement or some bargaining agreement that they had.
To know about Caitlyn Clark, when we would go to away games, they always sold out. Unbelievable. So Atlanta would normally have 3,000, 4,000 people. Now they have 17,000 people, and they sold 1,000 standing room only tickets. So when we walked into the arena, people were on that third balcony looking down at the tops of our players' heads to watch. It's really hard to take in. After a few away games and all of the sellouts, Caitlyn asked the WNBA if they would pay spot bonuses to the away team players. She said,
wow,
we're making all this new revenue, and I would like the away team to benefit from that. Could they get a spot bonus? So that's the heart of Caitlyn Clark. I mean, that's a classy, amazing person.
So, but it's absolutely.
The answer was no, by the way, because it's a collective bargaining agreement, and the Players Association couldn't do it.
WNBA Players Association. And there's some things that I want to talk about concerning this. All right, so Caitlyn Clark couldn't get this thing pushed through, whereby the players of the home team, when they were visiting, could get extra payment due to the fact that her presence sold out the stadium. They told her no due to the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Players Association. Now, Allison Barber went on to speak about how the new players who are coming in, because of the NIL, they have lawyers. And WNBA, or the Players Association, gives them this contract to sign. And so Allison spoke about how the new players coming in say, oh, well, I see this contract, I need to let my lawyer look over it. And so she says that the Players Association was like, what, you can't play? You can't play unless you sign this contract. And then she went on to say that the players would say, okay, well, we'll sign it, but I need my lawyer to look over it. All right, this is where I come in now, because there's an issue with this Players Association. I pulled down the contract for the WNBA, and I wanted to take a look at what was going on in that contract. See, the PA is like it's a union. In the document, it talks about how the WNBA brings on this WNBA in order to negotiate the terms of the players with the team. And I'm going to say this to you. Those of y'all who know law and you all follow what we do here, you full well understand that when somebody is representing you, then you have no standing. And so when you tell me that the WNBA hires this union, and I'm going to call it a union because that's what it is, hires this union to negotiate on behalf of these players, this is a conflict of interest. I need y'all to understand something. A lot of people think that, for example, as I've told you all on several sessions, that the WNBA makes no money or has no money. That's not the case. And once again, nobody is going to put money into something that's not bringing them money for 25 plus years. It's not happening. That's not even good business. When you look at, okay, if that's the case, this whole unrivaled league, they can't get started because they got to get all kind of sponsors and all these other people involved, and those people want their money back. Those people want their money back. But what's the difference between WNBA and the unrivaled league? Well, the WNBA is run by the NBA. Y'all thinking, oh, well, they make millions of dollars over there. They make a whole bunch of billions off of the WNBA. The fact that there are funds on the private side that those who own the NBA know full well how to access. There's funds on the private side that those who run the NBA know full well how to access. And so they get funds. But why does those funds not trickle down to the players in the league? Because they got this organization negotiating on their behalf for the WNBA. These are blockers. That's what the Players Association is.
I'm a big fan of NIL. It's complicated like every good new thing is. So much of that was happening anyway without really protecting the players and their opportunity. But my favorite part, Larry, is the women who are coming out with these NIL deals, and they are significant and they're deserved. They deserve them. They're coming out now of college as business women. So some of our rookies, not just Caitlyn, the rookies go to the league, they get drafted, the league puts contracts in front of them. You've probably heard this story, Sheila. The Players Association gives them a contract to sign. And they said, well, you have to sign this contract. And the players said, well, okay, we'll have our lawyers look at it. And the Players Association was like, no, you have to sign this if you want to play in the W. And these college graduates said, well, we'll sign it, but we need our lawyer to look at it. The league wasn't that happy about it. I loved it. Because through the NIL, these women are learning to be entrepreneurs and protect their own image and their right and negotiate for what they need. And so I think it's terrific.
And somebody can be upset with me. I get it, because I'm spilling the beans up in here today. But the fact is that the funds are there, and they want this organization here to negotiate so that these players don't come in asking for what they deserve. If this was Caitlyn Clark, she could bypass this. Caitlyn Clark should have been able to bypass this. Now she can. She could say, we need to renegotiate this contract. And the problem is that, again, nobody pushes the envelope. I get it, because we want to be in the WNBA. It's the world's greatest. Okay. But nobody's pushing the envelope to really go past who is the WNBPA? Who are they? What are they really doing? I'm going to give you an example of how this is working to the disadvantage of the players. I'm going to give you an example. Everybody, all the melanated people, they get excited about HBCUs, and that's my HBCU. Not understanding what's really going on behind the scenes. Because then they'll turn around and say, well, the HBCUs don't make a lot of money. They don't get money. When the truth is, they get a lot of money. They get millions from whatever their respective state is. They get a lot of money. And this has been uncovered. They get millions. But what happens? Why can't they get their dorm straight? Why is this rat and roach infested? Why is that? And you would think that these boards with these melanated people that are running it would be putting the funds where they need to go, but that's not how it happens. Those funds come in from the governor of the state. Where? From the federal side. They get those funds. They come from the federal side. And then those funds go to whomever it is, the boards of those HBCUs. And then the board never disperses the funds to help the students. They just get stuck in there somewhere. Never see those millions of dollars. This was uncovered. This was uncovered back a couple of years ago when Coach Prime was leaving whatever the name, Jackson University. When he decided to leave JSU, you got this board here that's not allowing those funds or doing what's needed to be done with those funds. Somebody is absconding with the funds. Okay, now I need y'all to understand this, because I'm going deeper now. This is what didn't come out. This is what didn't come out. So pay attention, melanated folks. And all y'all want to go, dealing with the HBCUs. What didn't come out is the fact that every HBCU, every last one of them, with the exception of Morris Brown, which is in Atlanta, are run by Jews. That's who runs them. And the issue is that people are assuming, because the board has melanated people on it, that melanated people are going to look out for the best interests of students in the school, when that's clearly not what's happening. Because those boards are run by another group of people that we don't ever see. I need y'all to understand, the same people who run the HBCUs are the same people who run all of the Major League Basketball, National Basketball Association, Major League Baseball, NFL teams, NHL teams, the same people who fund both the Democratic and the Republican parties. They the same people. Lives Matter, the Black Caucus. Y'all want me to keep going? They the same people. Once again, who is the WNBA? And do they really represent the players? I'm saying to you, they don't. I'm letting you know. And here's the other issue. You've got these players who are, they in love with their league, just like the same people with the HBCU. This is our league, and they holding all these melanated people. Oh, this is our schools. Not recognizing that the school is abusing them. Abusing them. With the food, with the conditions, with the education. Abusing them. Same thing with the WNBA. They got this WNBPA that's supposed to be negotiating their contracts. And they haven't been able to get over $70,000. Or actually their max is, I think, $250,000. When, as I've said many times, the funds have always been there. And so I say to you, what I hope to see and care to see is that it does start with at the top, with the commissioner or what have you, but also the players need to get on it. I'm gonna tell you something. I dealt with HBC, and then they have this nasty disposition and attitude, and they start projecting that onto everybody else, which is what we're seeing with Caitlyn Clark. And again, when I talk about roaches, the same thing. When Coach Prime left JSU, all kind of roaches start coming out because a light had been shined on these organizations that nobody really paid attention to before he came and caused this bright light to shine on all this mess going on over there. And so you're getting the same thing here, same attitude, same energy as what you see with HBCUs, where there's this whole negative, we the victim, but this is our thing, we're going to hold on to it. Why would you hold on to something that's not serving you? These women in this organization, their purpose is to serve or represent the player on behalf of the league. Well, that's a conflict of interest. It's conflict of interest. All right. I want to also read this when we're talking about finances and funding concerning the WNBA. This says in the WNBA, the players receive 50% of the league's incremental revenue. Pay attention to what I just said. In the WNBA, the players receive 50% of the league's incremental revenue. In the NBA, the players receive 50% of all revenue. This is where Caitlyn was trying to say, can you please give them some kind of bonus? But in the NBA, players receive 50% of all revenue. That means the WNBA players share in only the revenue earned above the league's revenue target for that season. The revenue target goes up by 20% each season, but the actual number is unknown. I told you last session that the problem is that behind the scenes, people are receiving funds and nobody knows. It's the same way with these HBCUs that get funds from the governor every year. They get millions of dollars and nobody ever sees it. Those funds just get lost and tied up in somewhere, and it never goes to the students. It never goes to fix anything on the campus. It never goes to build. And that's exactly what's happening with the WNBA. And let's remember, the same people running the NBA are the same people running the HBCUs. They know how to get access to funds on the private side. It comes from federal. This is a publicly traded organization. That means it's got federal funding. If you want to learn about that, you join the university. All right. This is the luminosity. The luminosity. Join this. Find the link in the bio so that we can get into understanding what's really going on and where the funds really are.